This demonstration is about showing how to rescue vaccines into an esky when there's a power outage at your practice during business hours. And the aim is to keep the vaccines between the recommended 2 and 8 degrees to maintain the cold chain. The fridge that we're using is a spare fridge. The vaccines inside are demonstration vaccines. They've been discarded during a cold chain breach previously, so just for demonstration. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fridge. At the top of the fridge is where we've got showing the current temperature, and this is where we would get the current minimum and maximum temperature from that you need to record twice a day, and then you need to be able to reset the temperature after recording, and each fridge is a little bit different in how you would do that. Other things in the fridge just to discuss is you might like to consider having baskets in the fridge. As you can see, I've got the plastic open weave baskets, and the reason for that is that it allows the air to circulate around the vaccines. The other advantage is that you're able to label the baskets. It also prevents the vaccines from leaning against the sides and the back of the fridge, which is not appropriate. The other things to talk about as well is that you might like to consider having grouped vaccines together. For example, on the top shelf I've got the vaccines for 6 weeks, 4 months and 6 months vaccinations, the Infanrix, Hexaprevir and Rotarix. The next shelf is all the vaccines for 12 months and then the others for 18 months. And the reason is that it helps, you know exactly then where to go, and it helps to prevent medication error in grabbing the wrong vaccines. So as well as a vaccine-specific fridge, which every practice needs to have to store vaccines, you also need to have a data logger inside the fridge. The data logger can be either freestanding, which is what we've got in this one, or more commonly now, when practices buy new fridges, the data logger is incorporated in the fridge and transmits, continuously monitors the fridge via Wi-Fi. Other things to notice in the fridge as well is that I've got a minimum maximum battery operated thermometer in the fridge. And as you can see, the cord goes through the door of the fridge and the end of the probe goes in an empty vaccine box. The reason for having one of these is that when the power goes out, what happens is the display from the top of the fridge goes out as well in almost all models of vaccine fridges. So you're not able to tell what's happening inside the fridge, what the temperature inside the fridge is, and to know when then to rescue the vaccines. So this thermometer, the min-max, sits on the outside of the fridge. If, for example, you had it inside the fridge, then over time this device gets moved around a little bit naturally. And then when the power does go out, suddenly, then it's very difficult sometimes to see this, because keep in mind that the lights go out as well. So that's why it's a good idea to have it on the side of the fridge. And there are some models that have magnets or, to attach it to the fridge. To be able to rescue the vaccines, you'll need equipment at the practice. You'll need eskies, you'll need ice bricks, you'll need bubble wrap, a min-max thermometer for each of the eskies, and you'll need to document your recordings on paper. So the eskies that you'll need to be big enough to store the vaccines in. This one here is a very common one that practices have, which is this, solid walled esky. The other one is a polystyrene esky, and you can use that, but in the Strive for 5, it says that the temperature doesn't last as long as the solid wall esky. The Strive for 5 recommendation is that the ice bricks are conditioned, which means leaving them out of the freezer for maybe an hour and a half. But in the event that the power goes out suddenly, you don't have that length of time, because particularly a glass door fridge like this, it goes close to 8 degrees within about 20 to 30 minutes or so. So this is an emergency situation, so you will need to use the ice bricks from the freezer, as we'll demonstrate. For this video, we're going to simulate a power outage by turning off the vaccine fridge, and my colleague Valerie is going to turn the fridge off. And as you'll notice, the display will go off from the top of the fridge. So the power has gone off, so you really need at that stage to gather your equipment ready to rescue the vaccines. Lots of other things happen as well when the power goes out, and that is that the lights will often go out as well in wherever the vaccine fridge is, often in a treatment room, and often there's no natural light coming in, so you might consider having a torch available so that you'll be able to see. The other thing is to keep track of what's happening in the vaccine fridge. This is why you'll need to have a look at this battery-operated minimum maximum thermometer that we talked about earlier. Because the display, there's no readings on the display, so you'll be able to check what's happening inside the fridge by checking on the min-max thermometer. So grab your eskies, and you'll need to grab your ice bricks as well. And while you're waiting to see what will happen, whether the power will come back on again, then you'll need to put the ice bricks in the esky to cool the eskies down. Valerie again is going to help me put the ice bricks in the esky. So what you want to do is to be able to cool the eskies down while you're waiting to see whether the power comes back on and how long it takes for the fridge to get out of range. So Valerie's putting all the ice bricks in the esky, then we're going to close the lid and just keep an eye then on the temperature. That's what's happening inside the fridge while we're waiting to see if the power comes back on again. Keeping an eye on the min-max thermometer, I can see that the temperature is going up and it's now about 7.7. So we don't want it to go over 8 degrees because we're trying to keep between 2 and 8. So we really need now to rescue the vaccines because the power hasn't come back on again. So now we need to pack the eskies, and we've already put the ice bricks in the esky to try and get them cool. So we're going to take some of the ice bricks out and leave some down the bottom. So Valerie's going to do that. She's going to take a couple of the ice bricks out. And in this esky, you can leave 2 to 3 ice bricks down the bottom. I'm just going to get to the other side. And then you need bubble wrap to protect the vaccines from the ice. So we're going to take the vaccines out of the fridge. And it's a good idea if you do have an assistant because it makes it quite a lot easier that way. So between the both of us, we're going to pack the vaccines into the esky. So I'll hand these to Valerie. I'm going to get the min-max thermometer that we had on the side of the fridge so that it can go into the esky. And Valerie's going to put the minimum maximum thermometer in the middle of the esky. We'll keep packing the vaccines in. Now, we've got a lot of these vaccines sort of wrapped together with elastic bands, which wouldn't be the case at your practice. You probably have them quite loose. So once you've packed the vaccines in, keep in mind to leave enough room for the bubble wrap and the ice bricks as well on top of the vaccines, and to be able to close the lid firmly. And then the min-max thermometer sits on top of the esky so that you'll be able to record the temperature. And you'll need to record the temperature, so you need to write down the date and the time and the temperature on the min-max thermometer, and then press reset on the thermometer. And you can do this on this cooler temperature chart, or if you don't have one of those, a piece of paper, because remember it is an emergency situation because the power has gone out. When we put the ice bricks in the esky to cool the esky down, your extra min-max thermometer, it's a good idea to just pop the probe into the esky while you're waiting to see what happens. That's right. Just to cool it down, because that min-max is probably being stored in the cupboard. So now we're going to pack the other esky with the vaccines from the fridge. So we'll hold on to the minimum maximum. That was just cooling in there while we were waiting to see if the power came back on. Now Valerie's got a few ice bricks on the bottom of the esky there, and some bubble wrap as well to protect the vaccines from the ice bricks. Now I'm going to get some of the vaccines out of the fridge for her and pass them over. That's why it's helpful to have 2 people to pack the esky. Lovely. I'm just going to give Valerie the min-max thermometer because the end of the probe needs to go in a vaccine box in the middle of the esky. So we'll continue on getting more vaccines out of the fridge, passing them to Valerie. She's doing a great job of packing the esky. So, and you need to put some bubble wrap on, have enough room and the ice bricks, and to be able to close the lid firmly as well. That's great, Valerie. Lovely. Now Valerie is also going to record again the time and the temperature for this esky. So this esky will be called esky number 2 or cooler number 2. And as I say, it can be on this temperature chart or it can be on a piece of paper. It's because it's an urgent situation. Once you've packed the vaccines into the eskies, then you need to be recording the temperature at least every 15 minutes for the first 2 hours at least, and then maybe hourly after that. The problem when you pack the esky is that sometimes the esky will get too cold. And if that happens, you have to be very careful and make sure that if it's starting to get really cold, down to about 3 degrees and still going down, then you might have to go in and remove some of the ice bricks. And also if it's getting too hot, you may have to add, and not getting cool enough, you may have to add more ice bricks. The aim is to keep it between 2 and 8 degrees. Now you do have a little bit of leeway where the temperature can get up to 12 degrees for no longer than 15 minutes. That's not a cold chain breach, but keeping them between 2 and 8 degrees. Then what do you do with the vaccines? You need to keep them in the esky and monitor them. If, for example, you were affiliated with another practice, then if they had room in their fridge and they weren't affected by a power outage, you could take them to another practice to store them in their vaccine-specific fridge, as long as the transport kept the vaccines between 2 and 8 and also on return. But what you can't do is you can't take them home to a domestic fridge, even though you might have a lovely one, big fridge at home in the garage. They're not allowed to go to a domestic fridge. I think it's good to be able to see how many of the vaccines we were able to fit into the eskies when Valerie packed the eskies, and to see how many vaccines are still left in the fridge. So what to do about the vaccines that are still in the fridge? You need to isolate the vaccines. Put a sign on the fridge, because remember the power is still out. Put a sign on the fridge, do not use the vaccines. Give us a call at the Public Health Unit and we'll talk you through what to do. Remember that you've still got the data logger in the fridge, and the data logger is either in the fridge or it's working on the continuous monitoring. Then we'll be able to tell with the data logger report how long the vaccine's fridge was out of range and what the maximum temperature was. And with that information, we've got thermostability data on all of the vaccines, so we'll be able to let you know which one of these vaccines are okay to keep and what ones you'll need to discard. So we've talked about what to do and how to rescue the vaccines while you're working during business hours. So what to do then if you're notified that the fridge has gone out of range, maybe over the weekend, the early hours of the morning, maybe there's a storm in the area. With the new Wi-Fi data loggers, they can send a message by SMS or email to key members of the practice to let them know that the fridge has gone out of range. So if there's a storm in the area that's caused the power to go out, we don't expect anybody to drive through a really bad storm, to go to a premises that is in the dark, no lights, no security, no alarm, to rescue any vaccines. What you need to do if you're alerted that the fridge has gone out of range, the next business day you'll need to make sure that there's a sign on the fridge, do not use the vaccines, and call us at the Public Health Unit. We'll talk to you about what to do. Keep in mind you've still got the data logger that's working in your fridge or your Wi-Fi, and we'll be able to tell you then with the information from the data logger what vaccines are still okay to keep and which ones you'll need to discard. but please keep them in the fridge. If there's no alternative, for example, if the power goes out and you're just about to finish for the day, then just keep the vaccines in the fridge, put a sign on the door, do not use the vaccines, call us at the Public Health Unit and we'll talk to you about what to do. This video has shown how to rescue vaccines into an esky when the power has gone out. If you have any questions, please give us a call at the Public Health Unit. Thank you very much for watching.